Hey, ladies, welcome to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. My name is Gina Trimmer, your host, and we are joined today by the beautiful Valerie Gordon. And she is a local friend here for me. And I'm excited to have her on to talk all things family photos, things to
Yeah.
expect, things to prepare for, things to not stress about. Just make this an easy breezy to get the exact thing out of it that we all want, which is that one picture that we can just hang sometimes forever, because unfortunately that's what happens. Valerie, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. This gloomy day has been so fun. It's so nice for us. It's such a nice change of pace for us.
Yeah, I agree. That's nice.
So tell me a little bit about yourself as far as personally before you got into photography. Who are you, Valerie Gordon, the woman?
Um, I've always been really artistic. Like I've always really enjoyed pictures and art and stuff like that. So I feel like that started at a young age. I grew up in Idaho, so a lot colder there than it is here. So I probably never go back. My family's still there. My parents are still there, but yeah, so I grew up in Idaho, but ended up in St. George. I've been here for about 20 years. And I love it here. So, and I started my photography journey about 13 years ago after I had my three children, and after the third one was born, then I really started getting into photography.
That's amazing. And you are a mama of six now,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, we have
Si
three more. Yeah. So there was a break in
Yeah.
between there where I did my photography business and then took a break while we, you know, had kids and raised them a little bit. And yeah, and then I decided to come back, and I'm glad I did because it's been really, really amazing.
I loved talking to you. So we got to meet at a mutual friend Amy's favorite things party, and that was really fun for me. And I love
Yeah.
actually that you have a big gap like that, because I also have that big gap. I've got my 13 and 10, which it feels like a separate kind of family almost. And then I've got
Yeah.
my 3-year-old and now this new baby on the way, which he'll be 4. So a 4-year gap between them. But I really appreciate that. And other mamas that are kind of embracing this idea of there's not really a supposed to in motherhood. It's just kind of what feels right for your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so I have a 20-year-old and then a 17-year-old and then a 14-year-old. And then there's a 7-year gap. So I ended up getting divorced and got remarried, and we decided we wanted like one kid together, and we ended up with three. So then I have now a 7-year-old and a 5.5 and a 4.5-year-old. So things were a little too crazy when they were babies to be able to continue making photography my business, but now I'm able to do that, and it's been really good. And I joke I had like two litters of kids. My first litter, my second litter.
It's
But it is,
true.
it's like two
It's
separate,
true.
starting all over and then separating, having the older kids and what they're into and meeting them on their level, and then, going to toddlers and diapers. And yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. It's been all good, mostly good, but a whirlwind.
Let's talk about that for a minute, if you're okay talking about that for a minute, because
Yeah.
we actually are thinking about the same kinds of things, because you have a much bigger age difference. You've got 20-year-olds, so you've got to think differently. Same with like Amy. So our mutual friend Amy, she's got the same kind of thing. She's got these 2 older kids and then 2 young kids. So
Hmm.
for me, well, I only have 13 to a newborn. But we are, especially where we're a travel family, we do have to consider, okay, what is this going to look like for the big boys versus what is this going to look like for me and the baby while this is
Yeah.
happening? How do you work that out to where you find some kind of peace and balance and middle ground?
I'm not sure there's really like a right answer to that in a way. I feel like it's just because I feel like you just try and do your best, but I think we're always going to feel for me personally, I feel guilt at times no matter what. My older kids are probably getting a little bit overlooked because the little kids demand so much attention. So I try to make up for that by making sure I get out on one-on-one time with them, or really setting aside some time where maybe the husband takes the little ones out to do stuff, and then I catch up with the big kids, and then trying to get them all together too, because it's not just a separate thing. Like, we are just a big family. And so getting a puzzle out at the table, and I force all 6 of them to come and help, which can be frustrating, but also fun. And it's good for my older kids to learn how to deal with the younger ones. And it's good for the younger ones to be around the bigger ones because they just idolize them. So I feel like um, there's things you can do, but I feel like the guilt in a way is kind of always there. But I think that's kind of just part of motherhood as well, like feeling like we're not quite doing everything we need to be doing for each kid, especially where I have 6. I do feel like I fall short with each of them a lot, but I remind myself too, we're doing the best we can. And there's pros and cons. The big kids have really benefited from having younger siblings. That's been it, that they wouldn't have had that opportunity to get to hold the little babies or watch them, learn to walk or help feed them. Have a fun memory of my oldest. I think I was holding Braven, my youngest, and he's a baby, and I'm trying to probably give him a bottle. And Poem, my 4.5-year-old, but they're like 10 months apart. So it was a little crazy. So then she needed to be fed. And so I'm telling my oldest, I need you to feed Poem her food. And he's sitting there gagging over the smell of like the baby food carrots. And he's like, "Oh, it's so awful." But he's also not, we're also laughing about it. And he's sitting there
Right.
feeding Poem. And I've got Adeline, my 14-year-old, playing with Everly to distract them. And Brigham's helping out by doing dishes. So, like, it kind of all comes together, even though it's like a really chaotic thing. It's kind of that, the phrase, the beautiful chaos. So I think there's more good to it than the negative. It's really
I
good for my older kids to have those younger siblings.
Well, it helps them learn patience and things like that
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have otherwise, and selflessness, it gives
Yeah.
them the introduction because when they were little together, they were all too little to
Right.
learn those kinds of things, but getting to
Mhm.
learn that. I love that. Well, so my mom, we have 8 kids in our family. So
Mhm.
even though there's no break, it's every 2 years, but you
Yeah.
still have the oldest to the
You still have the
youngest and the
gap.
separation, you still have the gap. So I always think about that because even me, I feel like so I'm the 4th. So my youngest brother, I was moved out by the time he was even really a person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
And so we have such a different relationship versus my sisters that were just right next to me, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it is really interesting the dynamic that you create there. And I love that you're pulling them all together and in and helping out, but that's what
Yeah.
we're doing as well. It's kind of who was it that I just read and it said, once you get past 4 kids, you might as well have 10 because
Yeah. It
everybody's
feels that
pitching
way.
in. It is chaos, but it's everybody's pitching in.
Yeah. Um, and as they get a little bit older, as the younger ones start to get a little bit older where they can have conversation, it's fun now because everyone's potty trained now. No one has bottles anymore. And so now my 3 younger, they just learned how to play like Mario Kart. And that's something the
Oh,
older kids love. And so you find things that, again, like the puzzle or Mario Kart or some of these things um, that they can get together on and connect on. And it makes it fun. And I watch my younger kids really, really love that time with the older kids. And, I don't think the older kids really, I think they'll look back and realize like, oh, I love those moments. They're still not really realizing it right now. But I watch the younger siblings, look at their older siblings, loving when they get to spend some time with them. Because the older kids are they're really busy. Um, but yeah, I feel too, I have to remind my older children, you were like this. Because sometimes they're like, oh, the little ones are so loud, or they're being, so crazy, and oh, they messed up the house again, or they messed up my room. And I remind them, you were like this too. They
yeah,
kind of forget that they were exactly like that. And so when they find the younger siblings annoying, I remind them, uh-huh, you were just this way too. So, and we get
that's
to
so
deal with
good.
all of it. The mom gets to deal with all of those stages.
Yeah. Yep. All of the stages. So, okay, I brought you here, and this is such a funny thing because poor you. Poor Valerie. You guys, let me tell you, yesterday I got this idea in my head, and anybody who's been here long enough with me knows this. Sometimes a squirrel runs by and that's where my brain goes. And it's like, I've had an epiphany. I have to do this. And I thought, my friend in Florida, they're getting ready to do family pictures, which for some people, that's just an every year thing. That's a
Right.
normal thing. Like for me, Rick and I have been doing, been a priority for me. That was one of the traditions that I wanted in my life. We never got pictures as a family. I mean, we've got very few.
Yeah, I
And
didn't really either, actually, come to think of
yeah,
it.
and but my poor mother, I don't blame her. There's 8 kids. And
It's a lot.
I remember this one time, I don't even know how old I was. And I remember and my dad was setting up the camera. And so it was on a timer, old school,
Yeah.
and trying to get 8 kids to sit still. And I remember I made a face in every single picture on purpose. What a jerk. Like, what a little jerk. And I feel like I was probably 8 because that seems like something that my now 9-year-old would
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
100%. So I'm like, yeah, that was me. He's totally me. So anyway, but this friend, she is that way, that they don't do it very often, and this is going to be a very special one for her. And so there is kind of a lot of pressure on her for this because she's got a daughter going off to college and
Mhm.
they just welcomed a new baby. So
Okay,
this
so
is a special one.
yeah.
So I was just like going through, for me, what instantly comes to my head, the basics. You need plan your outfits. What's your look? You've got a pattern, you've got a layer, you've got a texture. I just
Right,
start running through
right.
those. But what she needs is even deeper. So when I asked you to talk to me about this on the podcast, your response was incredible. I wish I could just replay exactly what you said. Like, I'm just going to
Okay.
insert your voice memo into this episode, but we'll talk about it. So
Okay.
when you, as a photographer, when you start with a family,
Mhm.
what's the process? What are you expecting? What are you hoping they're expecting? How do you work this all out?
So, I'll start off by saying I think every photographer has a different, way of doing things. So there's really no like right or wrong way. There's so many ways to do it. So for me personally, and I think it's kind of ever changing too, you kind of see, oh, that really worked well. I'm going to incorporate that more with each session. And then there's things where you're like, oh, I didn't love that. I'm going to, so I do feel like the process can be changing, but what it comes down to is usually when someone contacts me for family photos, I will immediately reach out so you go on my webpage and I have a contact form and that does give me their phone number. So I usually will respond to the email, and after a day or two, depending on if I've heard from them or not, I will send a message, a text message, and introduce myself and say, hey, I got your message. I would love to have a quick phone call with you. We can discuss, all the things, all the plans. And what that does is it immediately gives a voice to me, and they can hear obviously I'm a real person, but it allows them to meet me, even if it's just through the phone, right away. They get, and I've noticed getting to talk about, your photo session kind of in the very beginning, it will ease the nerves because then you're not sitting there thinking all of the questions. We go through a lot of the questions and then, it doesn't feel as scary. So basically, I'll call and I'll say, let's talk about your location. Like, what are you really wanting? Are you wanting green? Are you wanting red rock? Are you wanting water? Like, what are you? And then if they don't know right away, that's great. Let's think of those options and go and look on my, go look on my photography Instagram page or even other photographer pages to get inspiration of where are you wanting this to take place to? Because that'll make a big difference. You may not want to be around water if you've got little kids. Usually, if we've got like little toddlers who are going to run, I think a bigger field is better, a bigger open area. Um, Now, say I am talking to someone who wants their engagement pictures done, maybe by the water or like up on a cliff, like in Snow Canyon. Like, so it's we kind of start to figure out a little bit of location. And I talk to them about, tell me about your family. How many are coming to this family session? I would love their names and ages so I can know, uh, just the dynamic of the family. And so it just turns into a conversation of, have you thought about colors for outfits? And so we kind of get some of those because I think those are the main details that most people, when they book, are trying to figure out, right? I think in the very beginning, it's those basic details of location. I need some help with some color scheme. Uh, this is who's going to be there. And then after we kind of figure some of that out, and I try to keep that communication, whether it's through texting, another phone call, I keep it going up until the photo session, and it usually a little bit more right before the photo session. And that's when I start to ask a few more questions and talk about how the session's going to go. So,
That's so interesting because I am a seasoned, like, picture taker, not taker, taker of
yeah,
client. I'm a seasoned client. And I wouldn't even have thought of because until it happens, right? Like for us, we understand that the red sand, you're going to get red on things. So if you're coming
right,
in creams, guess what? Be ready for that.
right.
It's we're prepared for that, but you don't
Or if
think
you're
about the
going to wear
things like,
red against the red rock, some
oh,
red's gonna
right.
be okay, some red or orange is really not gonna be okay, you know? So exactly what you
And
were
and
saying.
and thinking about kids by water. Hello, they're going to play
Mhm.
in the water. They want to play in the mud. They're going to want to the cliffs. Yikes. People
Right.
that so my friends were just here from Minnesota and we actually took them to Zion and we had to like kind of prepare our kids in
Right.
saying they're not used to this environment. They're flatlanders. They're not used to doing this. So you
Yeah.
have to kind of not expect them to just be mountain goats like you guys are. You were raised this way.
Mhm.
So it's the exact same thing that until you experience it. So that's really, really a good thing for you to have that information to share with these clients that are coming to say, oh, you have a 3-year-old. We want a big field. Your 3-year-old's going to want to run around
Yeah.
and play and be having a good time. And that's the best time for me to capture these great candidates, right?
Well, and as a mother, you can't relax if your
No.
child's getting close to a cliff or getting close to water, and so I'm not gonna get the pictures that I want to deliver to this family if the mom is, really distracted watching her children. And so I have to make sure where we're going is fits appropriate to the client. So it's safe too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I so my whole goal with this episode was helping these mamas and their mindsets. And you're doing a bang up job because communication in life, communication
Yeah.
is absolutely the key and having all of the information. If you have all of the information, the rest of it will fall into place. I used to say
Yes.
that I designed stairs for my in-laws company. We weren't married at the time, but I was the designer for Titan Stairs, and
Mhm.
I have no idea what that looks like. And so as I learned and women would come in and be designing this beautiful staircase in their home, and they would overthink all of the different components and be
Mhm.
like, does that go together? And finally, I'm just like, do you like this component? Yes. Do you like this component? Yes. Then they're going to go together because it's going to all fall into place because you like the thing. So just like with photos, it's all going to come together unless you are just unprepared and a chaotic mess. It'll all come together because you have all of the information.
Yeah, I try there are photographers who have something called a client closet. That is not something I do. Financially, it doesn't make sense for me to do it as well as I think the location I'm in, but some photographers have a client closet where they actually dress the entire family for every photo shoot. And I mean, I think that's great because in a way the photographer has a lot of control over what the clients are wearing. I don't think for me personally, I've come to the conclusion that I really enjoy capturing connection. So I've joked at times with my clients, you could wear a potato sack and I'm going to make you look good, you know? Um, I'd like to try and help my clients. I'd like to give pointers and tips and direction. So I will say, you can look at these Instagram pages. There's certain Instagram pages that are ex- specifically for family colors, right? Go on there and see what you like. And so for me, it's not about trying to dress the clients exactly how I want them to, because everyone's going to be different. But I do let my clients know movement in dresses is going to look beautiful. So any type of clothing on the girls or the women that flows and move will add that much more to your pictures with movement. Texture is great. You have to stay away from really tiny fine lines, because certain material can cause something called I think it's chromatic aberration, where the camera can't focus specifically on the design because it's so it like blends together. So I don't know if you've ever seen this with certain shirts, and then it almost
Mhm.
looks, I don't know how to explain it.
Like
It's almost like a
overexposed,
blur.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of it doesn't keep it the exact line. It almost waves it in a way. And so
Oh.
I do try and help my clients know, like, don't wear bright white, shiny white shirts, like button-up shirts. That will take all the color from everything else and reflect on it. So if a white shirt is right next to a bright red, that red's going to come on that white shirt. So I do say, like, hey, cream is totally fine. Um yeah, so I do try to give direction, and I tell the moms, try to find your outfit first for the most part, and then dress everyone around you. Um, and again, it's like you want diversity in your photo, so I usually recommend not dressing kids the exact same. But then there's moms who sometimes want all three kids dressed the exact same in a dress, and that's okay. Or twins dressed exactly the same. That is okay. But I let them know choosing different outfits will give it the picture more diversity, and it'll look better. And so I try to give some of those pointers, but also say, I want you to be comfortable. I want you to wear what you feel good in, as long as it's not like super bright fluorescent hot pink, just because of the way I shoot and how I edit. And that's another thing too. I really tell people, figure out what style you like. My bright, bold
Right.
style may not be for you. You might want airy and light, or you might want to wear like a bright fluorescent pink against the red rock, and that's great, but it probably won't look good with the way I edit. So I do, when people are looking for a photographer, I tell them, go and search photographers, and what starts to catch your eye and that style, start from there, and then, look at what they do and what they're wearing and what their Instagram shows of people wearing, and then, go from there. So I know I'm not like everybody's style of photographer, and that's okay too. But I want my client to be happy. So I really hope most of the time when I have a client reach out to me, I said, have you looked at my Instagram page? Is that the style you're looking for? Are those the locations you like? Is that the editing you like? If so, great. We're going to be a perfect fit. But I'm
Right.
okay
Yours is
not.
very dreamy.
Oh, jeez. I'm okay having someone not go with me, though, if I'm not their style, because then I'm not going to get a client who's happy with the outcome no matter what, if I'm
Yeah,
not their style of photographer.
100%. Well, and it's also knowing what your goal is. It's so like Amy, I have Amy photograph things that I want bright and airy and
Right. And she's amazing
lots
at
of
those pinks and those
yes,
bright colors.
bright
Yeah.
colors. We're about to do my maternity shoot, and it's girls just want to have fun is this vibe
Perfect. Yeah.
versus all of my other maternity shoots with my boys and with my husband would have been like you would have created magically because they
Oh,
were so that vibe, right? But
right.
I'm specifically wanting a girls just want to have fun vibe, and so that's why I chose Amy. Also, so this is funny too, this photographer that my husband actually she was sweet and donated her, services to one of the elk foundations or one of the things, the wildlife tables that we get. And so he had bid on it, it was adorable that my husband would bid on a photographer because he knows better, but whatever, it was great.
Whatever.
So I
Point
had
the
to go
thing.
look through yes, he's adorable. So I had to go through and look through her stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute, look. She does captures pose beautifully. So that's going to be appropriate for after the baby comes. I've just had a
Hmm.
C-section. I'm uncomfortable, and we can have a posed in-home setting
Hmm.
rather than an outdoor,
Right.
celebration dreamy kind of a thing. So it's bringing your expectations to the actuality and finding how to bridge the gap between the two things.
Yeah.
So,
I also, when I start talking to my clients as well, I'll let them know, and especially if they have little kids, I tell them, tell the kids, hey, we're going to go take some pictures, but we're going to play a lot of fun games. So for my type of style, I let the family know, I'm going to get you guys laughing and you're going to forget that I'm there pretty much. Um, I always guarantee that, we're going to get that money shot of looking at the camera and everyone smiling. Everyone wants that. But I do love to do a little bit more of the storytelling or lifestyle photos, like mom, playing with daughter's hair a little bit or wrapping arms around daughter and like snuggling in on her and telling her her favorite thing, one of her favorite things about her or something. And so I come up with games and things in my mind that are going to get the family to interact. And the point of that, the main reason I do that, because some of these games that I do don't result in good photos for me. But what it does is it gets the family connecting and they loosen up more and they forget that I have this camera right at them. And it starts to make my session flow smoothly. They get more comfortable with me. And so even if I play a game, for instance, I had a photo session on Sunday and they had older kids. And I said, hey, we're going to play this game. And I just kind of like came to me and it was random, but I'm like, we're going to play weaving the basket. And they're like, weaving the basket? What is that? And I said, okay, we're going to get in a line and the kids are in the middle and mom's over here and dad is over here. And mom and dad have to go to each kid. And I want either a kiss on the cheek or a hug, and you can tell them something in their ear that you just love about them. And it can even be silly because sometimes you have to fill the family out and and what's comfortable for them. So some families, they are super comfortable with each other and saying, I love you and kissing them on the cheek is no big deal. And that was this family. You could tell they really enjoyed each other's company. I have another family where they're a little bit more standoffish, then I do different games. So with this one, said, okay, we're going to play weaving the basket and you're going to start on this end. And mom's going to start on this end. You're going to give a kiss or a hug or something and just love on them. And then you go to the next kid and then the next kid. And then mom and dad switch and then end up on the opposite end again. And the dad, was really cute. And he's like, wait, how do I do this again? And I said, there's no way to screw this up. You're going to be fine. But it did result in some beautiful candid shots of the sisters holding hands, kind of smiling because they knew mom and dad were coming. And then the boys on the end, mom and dad, just kind of loving in on them. And so I'll try and play some of these kind of games that get the connection, interaction going, which makes them forget that I'm right there in their face with a camera. And I think that really helps. And that's kind of my style of photography, is getting the families to really have a good time and enjoy themselves and interact. And we're going to get those pictures where they are looking and smiling, but we're going to get a lot of those in between pictures too that I hope to capture. And so anyway, I was just saying that's kind of my process with getting the family to not feel so awkward in front of the camera. Going back to what you were saying with your friend, where she doesn't do family pictures every year. And she's sitting there, maybe, I think every mother who goes and gets family pictures, they don't want to feel awkward and they don't want to look bad. That's the main thing. So my job is to make it so they're not feeling awkward and that I'm getting angles where they are going to feel beautiful in those photos, as well as everyone else. But I think mom sometimes is number one in those sessions,
well, I think so too, because we're the most critical. We're the most critical of everything, of ourselves mostly. And that's kind of where Revitalized Sisterhood comes in. My community is to try to reverse this kind of conditioning that society has played on all of us as women, as looking at ourselves through these lenses of just criticism and negativity and limiting beliefs and all those things. Because if you can see yourself as the woman that other people see you as, if you can see the reflection that they have for you of this strong, beautiful, confident, independent, like whatever you are, what all of these people that love you see you as, if you can see that, it's not going to matter what your pictures come out. I mean, honestly, like, barring a windstorm, a tornado, it's
Mhm.
not going to matter because you're going to see the beauty in all of it because you're proud
Yeah.
of yourself and you're confident in yourself. I love that you said pick mom's outfit first. I've heard that so many times. I think that is gold advice because once you have moms, I've helped so many different people. My sister every year, she needs my help, but it's like if you can just narrow down this one piece that
Mhm.
you feel like you're saying you feel good
You
in,
feel good
you
in
feel
and confident
comfortable
in.
in.
Mhm.
Yes. Do you have a new baby? Are you going to have to chase a toddler? Do not wear high heels if you have to chase a toddler and you are outdoors. That's not going to work. Find something that looks cute with a boot. Like, you have to think about these kinds of things. Um, so I love that you said that. And I just, that's my work here, is to try to help with the mindset and the self-love aspect of it while these women are on this journey, so that when it does come to meeting you or a photographer, that they're prepared for this and their expectations are already, this is going to be good. It's going to
Yeah.
be good.
That's what I want my clients when they come to a photo session. And I mean, I would think any clients going to any photo session, any photographer wants this, that they already are feeling good about what's going to happen instead of nervous. I mean, I guess it's fine to feel nervous, but I mean the unknown. I try to
Mhm.
let my clients really know we're going to start in this area. We're going to start off with some of these poses. I'm going to get you guys to work together. We're going to then move over to this area a little bit. And then I tell them by the end of the session, things wind down a little bit and we get a little, it's not as, at the beginning of the session, there's a little bit of that high energy and a little bit of nervous energy
Mm.
from people. By the end of the session, we've all gotten to a place where little kids especially, they'll calm down enough to lay on mom's shoulder and then just kind of let me take their picture while they're laying on mom's shoulder. And so I let the mom know that too. Like, it's okay in the beginning if it feels a little bit high energy and chaotic, it's gonna wind down. We're gonna get so many great photos. It's okay if it starts off, if the kid's running around, and like eventually it'll calm down. Especially because I try and direct it the way I do, and then the certain games are how I get them to interact. And uh sometimes the kids always want to be by mom and dad. So once in a while, if I can't get kids to want to take their pictures, I'll put mom and dad like sitting down on the grass and focus on them if the kids are running around. And within no time, those kids run up to mom and dad and sit next to them. They want to be involved. So I try to let my clients, especially with different, whatever ages they're bringing of their kids and whatnot, like, just kind of, here's what we're going to do. Here's what you can expect. And in the end, it's just going to be great. And let me handle your posing and how I'm going to place you. And, let me worry about that. Don't you have to sit there and worry about everything that's going to look good. Like, that is my job, is to bring out that natural beauty and those poses that you're going to feel comfortable and look good in. And, yeah, I just try really hard to get them to where they feel comfortable being in front of the camera, which can be really hard. I had one couple where the guy was like, "I'm really awkward in front of the camera. I'm awkward. I look weird." And he's already seen this. This is going through his mind. And I think this is
Yeah,
most of us, right?
yeah.
And I don't know if you notice on my Instagram page, but I always capture mom by herself for a few images, no matter what. Even if mom is like, "No, I don't need any of me." And I try to really remind mom, "You do. You need some pictures of just you. Let me get some of just you." And those are a lot of the time some of my most favorite images of the session are the ones where I have mom and I help her try to loosen up a little bit, maybe make her dress flow a little bit. But I think it's just so important because we all, like I mentioned, that guy, we all probably come to a photo session feeling like, okay, I feel a little awkward. I feel like I don't look very good in front of the camera. And so my goal is to try and capture a few images where mom looks at herself and says, "Oh, that's not so bad. I'm glad I got
Right.
that." I'm glad she got that of me. And another thing is the children, someday when they're older, they're going to be really happy that they got those few photos of mom and dad. I do take some, usually just do some headshots of dad because dad doesn't care as much, but I really try and get some of mom because I think it's important that we get some of those photos of just ourselves, of who we are, because we've now been split into so many roles. It's nice to like just have a picture of just ourselves. So I do that with every session, is capture mom by herself for a minute. So
I think that's so important. I couldn't love that more. Actually, 2 retreats ago, and I would have done it again this retreat, but I didn't have Amy with me. Ugh. I got to change my retreat time so it doesn't end up landing on her kids and her husband's birthdays. So
oh no.
again, but last year, the 2 years ago, I actually specifically hired her to take pictures of these women individually. All the women that came to my retreat,
Good.
I wanted
Hmm.
a little mini session because we never get pictures of ourselves. Moms never get
Yeah.
pictures of themselves. When you're a businesswoman and you're in an industry where you're required or needed to have headshots, where you're required to have branding, you do that. That's a normal thing.
Right.
Where you come to the women who is my target audience, which is more likely stay-at-home moms, working
Hmm.
moms, women who don't prioritize themselves at all, right? When's the
Yeah.
last time you've got the pictures? Okay, this is me and my husband. Hello. Have you seen the reels where it's like, I asked my husband to take a few pictures of me and this is what it came out to? And
And
it's
this is
like
what it came out. Yeah.
the
Yes.
ugliest moments,
Yeah.
ugliest captures you could possibly have. And, like, you look at a woman's phone and every single picture is the husband, the kids, whatever.
Right.
And I say to him all the time because of how much we travel and how many pictures I am taking, I'm like, "My kids aren't gonna know what I look like." You know that, right? Like,
Right. You have
if
to
I
get in them.
don't
Have to.
prioritize the family photos, my kids won't know.
Hmm.
And
And
so
how nice is it where we are usually worrying about everything all the time? I try to let the moms know when you get to the session, let me handle it. You don't worry. I
yeah,
and then they start to loosen up and they can put their arms around their little one and like snuggle up to them and whisper in their ear a little bit. And I capture those moments because those moments really are happening at home where a camera isn't on them. And so I try to capture some of those moments because I do think as mothers, we don't get a lot of pictures of those sweet little moments either. And, I notice, like, sometimes when my husband's being really cute with the kids, I'll get my camera out and hurry take a picture. And he does pretty good, but I do think us moms capture more of those sweet moments on our phone, but we definitely we need those pictures of ourselves with our kids as well. So I feel like that's a really good thing with photo sessions, like letting your photographer know, I really want somewhere I'm just having some sweet moments with my kids. Because those sweet moments happen when you kiss them on the forehead when they're going to bed at night. I mean, obviously you can't recreate, you're not going to do that for your photo shoot, but the same thing, a kiss on the forehead, that tenderness, loving them in. And I've noticed that the kids eat that right up and love that. They love those moments. And it makes me feel good knowing I'm capturing some of those moments for mom to have because she's not
right.
getting a lot of those captured at home. And so, like you said, like, or if you have your husband, hey, take some pictures, and then you look not great or whatever. And they're trying, but that's where I try to convince people, not just because I am the photographer and we all want business, obviously, but I'm sitting here as a photographer saying, use me, don't use me, doesn't matter. Get the pictures taken, get them taken. Um, because those moments are fleeting and those little ones grow so fast. And then your big ones, the bigger kids too, even with them, it's still important to get those moments with them because they're still growing and emerging adults, And so
Yeah.
as they're becoming emerging adults, it's still important to get those moments with them. So that's where I just think a family photo session, no matter if a mother is feeling nervous or not feeling her best or doesn't love how she looks, let the photographer handle those things and hopefully bring out those beautiful moments that they're gonna,
Yeah.
cherish because it's really, really important.
I love that so much. You're becoming an expert in human nature and human emotion and capturing the
Yeah.
humanness of the family, of their essence of the family. What is your most favorite part? What is your most favorite? Is it what you just explained? It feels like that because you're very passionate about it. But at the end of a well done session, a well created session, what is your favorite part?
So usually, I really like to try and get to know each of the people that I'm taking pictures of. And I think some of my favorite parts have to do with me actually putting my camera down for a minute and talking to them and getting to find out a little bit more about them. Because then all of a sudden I see them relax and breathe. I think sometimes as photographers we think we've got to have our camera up all the time and getting all those pictures. And there are times that I have missed beautiful shots because I have put the camera down and talked to that person face to face. But then what it does is it makes it so the rest of the session, I'm going to capture more genuine emotion because I'm also being a human, putting the camera out of my face and talking to them. And so some of my favorite parts, besides just talking, having a little conversation with each of them when I'm taking their pictures, is if I can get things to not feel stressful. As I'm taking pictures, I'll look over my shoulder and I'll see the siblings start to play and have a good time. And so I know that they're having a good time if they're able to like
Right.
talk and have fun, and mom's not like, you guys don't, we got to get this done or we got to do this. Like if I can get the session to flow where everyone's feeling not stressed,
Mhm.
then I feel like that's a favorite moment for me of like, okay, everyone's having a good time. When an absolute favorite part is getting mom and dad together and kind of trying to recreate that little bit of that spark again because I've been married 10 years,
Right.
and sometimes going for a picture together you just kind of smile and shoulder to shoulder, and so I try to bring them together, and I'll bring up questions or I'll do something where they start to look at each other and you can almost see in their faces these memories that start to like come back to them. When did you meet? I'll do something like, okay, this is a game, and whoever answers first gets the point. So sometimes the kids will be like, okay, is mom gonna win or dad gonna win? And I'll say, okay, how long have you been married? And oh sorry, I have a kid pounding at the door. Hopefully you
That's
can't hear
okay.
that.
It's fine.
Um
This is mom life. I usually have a 3-year-old that walks in and gets on
I
my
know.
podcast
Well,
with
they're
me.
like pounding at the door. Hold on.
Hello?
I know. Okay, so I'll I'll do something like, "Okay, how long have you guys been married?" And sometimes they'll say like, "Hold on just 1 second. Hey,
You're fine.
Brayden, go find dad." He's just pounding on the door. Sometimes they'll say different, like from when they've met or for how long they've been married, and then it'll create a laughter. And I'll say,
Right.
"Okay, so where did you meet?" And sometimes that's even different in their mind a little bit like, "Well, no, we really met here." Or, "No, we met in class the very first time. That's when I saw you." But and then it's a little bit like, "All right, you saw her very first time. Think back to that. What did you think when you saw her? Was it that she has like nice big round eyes?" And that will get a laughter a little bit
Yeah.
because some of those fun things. And I'll tell the dad, whisper in mom's ear. First thing you thought of her when you saw her. And that's always going to be usually just a good memory. And so that's some of my favorite part is getting them to start to talk about things that brings them together, and then it comes through the camera. Beautiful. So that's definitely my favorite part is seeing.
Totally. I feel
Yeah.
that so much. I have some of my most favorite moments, my most favorite captures that I'm glad someone was there to capture was the same kind of thing. Rick and I renewed our vows for our 10-year in Hawaii, and we did a
Mhm.
Hawaiian ceremony, and at one point they make you put your foreheads together,
Uh-huh.
and it's so uncomfortable and awkward. Like you're
Uh-huh.
just like standing there like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
And so Rick started cracking jokes and just whatever, just being a dork. And my sister captured that moment so
Mhm.
perfectly. It is one of my most favorite pictures ever.
Yes.
But yeah, I totally get that. I love that. You are like the human connectedness of what you do is comes out in what you're talking about and how you take your pictures. It's
I hope
beautiful.
so. That really is my goal. I decided long ago with photo shoots that again, it wasn't going to matter what my client showed up in. Like I said, I'll give pointers like, don't wear these certain colors or don't like, but whatever my client shows up wearing or whatever location, say I have a random building and a street, can I make it work where they're going to look at those photos and love them? So that's always been my goal as a photographer, no matter where I'm at, what they're wearing. And you've got to have decent lighting, obviously. So it's like, you got to have the good lighting, but no matter where I'm at or what they're wearing, that is my goal to make them love their photos, no matter what. And that usually will happen with that connection, with getting them to connect, again, and then capturing that candid connection. So, and
I
I
love
think
that. That's so beautiful. I love that. My big thing is, sorry if anybody's watches we can edit this stuff out, but anybody watching on the YouTube episodes is like, hey, Gina, where are you going?
yeah,
I locked my husband out. He came home for lunch.
so
He's like,
oops, hello.
and I come in, I'm like, no, sorry, go away, bye. No, one of my biggest things also with pictures, and I think my husband, he grumbles and gripes a little bit of course, because there's cost behind it, right? There's cost, and
Yes.
especially where I
Yes.
want to do it every year, that's a big deal. But not even that, just the time and the energy, I think that is naturally a husband's thing, that they're just like, oh, again, we're doing this again, whatever. But every single time, without fail, anytime I've done anything, anytime I've made a stink about anything, he never once has he regretted it.
Right.
And every time has he said, I'm so glad we did that. I'm so glad we captured that, right? So it's thinking about yes, it is hard to do. Yes, it takes time. Yes, some of you poor moms have 6 kids. I saw you and your one daughter or somebody was putting the dog on your head to try to make it so that you could
To get my little one
capture
to
a
laugh.
sweet, to get your little ones to laugh. And I'm just like, oh, bless her heart. We know that that's what it may look like, but that is a split second for a memory frozen in time, right? And not only that, one of my favorite things is trying to suck the most joy out of life, right? The most joy. So in our community, I have this tool that I created called the happiness tracker, and it's about being mindful. It's about being present in like the dumb things that you're doing every day anyway, like finding joy in those things, like me making my coffee. It's happening anyway. It's going to happen anyway. I do it every single day. But if I can create something, like I bought a special machine that I researched for 2 years. I get my special creamer. I foam it, right? Like it's putting a little energy, like my house. What are the things that, I'm in a small little house right now because in our life, that's what we need because we're traveling. There are little tiny things that make me really upset about it. Well, okay, then what are you going to do? Replace the light fixture. That's not a big thing. It's not a full kitchen remodel. It's not buying a whole new house. It's now
But
when I'm in.
it's a touch of happiness.
A touch of happiness.
Yeah.
It's like, I tell people, create your own little space. Have somewhere in the house that just makes you happy. Like if you are a mom in a boy life like me, and everything is boy and everything is dinosaurs and trucks and Legos and whatever, it's great. Have a little corner in your room that has a candle and a plant. And, I'm getting a pretty chandelier today for my room because this is going to become the girls' room soon. So it's like bringing as much, seriously, babe.
Bye.
Valerie says, hi, I'm recording a podcast
That's
episode
like me and my
now.
girlfriends, if we're always like, hi, husband.
Hi,
all right.
husbands. It's like squeezing all the joy. So with pictures, one of my most favorite things is telling the women in my community, I'm sure I've done a podcast episode on it. It's like, give yourself 30 minutes to sit and scroll back through your phone, through your pictures, through your photos, and go relive those memories again, because there's a reason you took that picture. There's a reason in that moment you thought to yourself, I'm going to take this picture. Go relive it. And now that picture has not only brought you joy from the original memory, it's now brought you joy again because you're remembering it.
Yeah,
So
I love
that's
that.
what life's about. It's these moments. I did a post about it today. The most precious thing we own that we have are moments. Those
Yeah,
are the most precious things. So if you just let those things sit in your phone camera and you never go back and look at them, you never bring them back up, you never put them out anywhere because they're just hidden or lost, what was the point of it? You're letting
right.
all of that joy just sit there and nothing's happening with it. So,
And we're such
yeah,
visual people that sometimes, like say with a photo, getting them done and then getting them up on our wall, and we see that daily. It brings joy. It brings joy seeing those
yeah,
photos that you're like, I love this. Like for me downstairs in my house, I have a shelf that has like all 6 kids, and I pass by it a million times a day, and I see those and it makes me happy. And my little ones, they come up and they will our family picture. My little one will be like, "Hey mom, can Stockton hold?" That's my oldest. "Can Stockton hold me in the picture next time cuz he's holding
mm,
Everly this time," or having these
yeah,
visual reminders of like those happy moments, I think are extremely important. So like you were saying, your chandelier, you're going to see that it's a touch of happiness. It's great. I think doing that with photos, I make sure every time I have a photo session of my own family that I print some specific photos and put in my kids' rooms for them. Like the
cute.
siblings together. I put those in their rooms, a little like 4x6. My daughter loves our dog. I mean, we all love our dog, but she loves our dog, and she always gets one with Ollie, our dog. And I print that like big, like a 8x12 in her room, and she loves it. And so I think you're spot on with the things that can bring us joy, or if we're doing something every day, how do we make that a joy? Also, if we're seeing those pictures every day, it brings joy. And to go back to what you said, some people don't do this every year. Financially, it can be tough. I know some families who will put $50 a month away because it means so much to them. And those sometimes are the families that have gone through something kind of tragic. And I don't mean to bring that up to make things sad, but through hard things and tragic things, we sometimes realize what's the most important things. And so I used to do, it used to be called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photography for people, for women who would lose their baby very early on, like 20 weeks or earlier. And they would need someone just to come to the hospital to capture some of those moments. And I've also had some dear friends ask me to come to some of the funerals just to capture people together, because that's all of a sudden everyone was together. And it's really, really humbling, and it reminds you though that like each other in these moments are what's most important. And so I've had a few friends say, "Oh, you know what? It's okay. I'll get pictures next year. We can't make it work this year." And I think, "Okay, if you can't make it work with me, make it work with someone." I'm not saying you have to do pictures every single year because it can feel like a lot, but there is an importance of capturing those moments and memories. I feel like often,
Mhm.
even every other year, because those kids are going to grow, and it's nice to have someone else try and capture your family in a way that you're going to look at those images and love them. Because again, you can take pictures of your kids that you absolutely love. So can I. But it is important getting us in those photos as well with our children, and having someone really capture motherhood for us with our children, or then again, having moments with our significant other, and having those captured too. I think it
Yeah,
really is important to get those professionally done
I do too.
often.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. We actually talk a lot about death and the meaning of life and those kinds of things in my community because I think it is so special for those people. It's such a double-edged sword, honestly, because it is unfortunate because when people are faced with mortality, people that have come up against it or people that have experienced it, whatever it is, those people are almost more blessed because they have a new perspective on living, what living
Mhm.
actually should look like,
Yeah.
what how to really focus in on have perspective on what is important. They are blessed. They have that vision now that
Yeah.
people who have not really, you can kind of imagine, you can sympathize, but you cannot empathize that kind
Right.
of fear
Mhm.
based, something that really puts you in, whoa, none of this matters. This is what's important.
Yes.
And so I love that as a topic in my community. We actually did a whole month on it both years. And this last one we read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor
Mhm.
Frankl,
Yeah.
and it was about how he found joy through all of the Holocaust, right? He was in a concentration camp and he found the beauty, and that's how he survived, was by finding the beauty. And it's like, holy, if this
Right. How could
man
you find beauty in
can
that
find
during that?
beauty
But
in,
he
yes,
did, and
but
it
he
saved
did.
him. Yeah. I
Exactly.
had
So
I
I think that too, that these moments, and yes, with cost, I think that all the time. You have money for things, you just haven't prioritized it. So it
yeah.
is absolutely, it's got to be a priority. It's got to be, this is something, that's why we do it every year. I know my husband grumbles. I know he gets after me for it.
Yeah.
And it's a non-negotiable for me. He knows that now. It's been 18 years. He just knows it's a non-negotiable. So,
But like you said, he never regrets it, and then he looks at those photos, and I can
yeah.
say one of my other favorite moments is when I've had this happen a handful of times, and I pat myself on the back, but some of my favorite moments is when I have a photo shoot end and I have the dad say, "Hey, thank you. That was a lot of fun." Um, that that always I think, okay, like then we were really having fun. If the dad can say to me, "Hey,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. Thank you." I think, okay, yes. All right. We really were
Well,
having fun
not
then if
even
the
just
dad will say
thinking it,
that.
because he could be thinking it, but he came out and said it. That's like a
Yeah,
next level. That's
that's
like
next
a
level.
next
I
step.
always say, "Can you Google review that for me?" But
Yes, yeah.
yeah, no,
That's perfect.
yeah, I had a family not too long ago, a dear friend of mine who had lost their boy. I think he was 3, 2 or 3, and I knew it took a lot of energy for her to call me to even say, "I think it's time for family photos, and how am I even supposed to do this without him?" And so we talked a lot
Yeah.
about things she could bring, and they did end up having holding a picture of him. Um, but I really tried to be very mindful of the energy that it took for her to even make the phone call to schedule family pictures, but I love that she knew they were still important to get because she had other children and she still has these family memories and these moments. And we included the picture of her boy in a handful of them, and then some, and then we didn't. And the complex moments of having pictures with that frame and without the frame, symbolizing that, you have to keep moving forward and moving on without him because he's not here anymore. But we remembered him too. Like, it was just such a beautiful session. And I felt really honored that she allowed me to capture their family. But I loved that she made the call to schedule, because I think, like you said, I can't imagine how hard that is to do,
Right.
but how important it really was and is. So I'm so glad she did that, but how
Mhm.
hard that would have been. And I think that's just a big, beautiful thing in my job, is that I get to see some of these moments um, of families creating these memories that are extremely important to that family. Um,
Right.
and it's beautiful. So yeah, anyway, just finding the beautiful even in those hard times, whether it's through family pictures or getting your new chandelier. Yeah, I think it's very important to capture those things and hold on to those moments and memories. And photography is a beautiful way to have that done.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so lucky to have that gift. You're so lucky to have that
Yeah.
ability of connecting humans in that way. So, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, we totally did it. I'm
We
like,
did it.
"Oh, I'll just keep you for a minute. I don't want you to have to," like, you poor thing got lassoed into this. last
That's
minute. I'm
great.
like, just jump on here. And look how professional you are. Your husband has you all set up. You're like,
Oh, I know.
you might
This
as
is
well just start a podcast.
no, I lucked out. He's a therapist, and so he does some little videos. And so when you asked me, I was like, well, I already have the setup because of him. So I wasn't too nervous about that. Like, we've got some good
Good.
lights. We've got a microphone. I look really professional.
You do. You
No.
look amazing. More professional than me. My husband wandering in and out of my bedroom.
No, I appreciate
Hey,
the opportunity though. I really, really do feel so passionate about this profession. I think sometimes people think in this profession, like, oh, they just have a camera. They bought a camera, they're going to take a picture and charge people for it. And the money is it's a big part of it. It is hard sometimes to spend money on something thinking, well, I don't even like how I look right now. Why would I spend money on getting my pictures taken? But there really is so much more to it, I think, with the right photographer. And a lot of photographers there's so many good ones out there that feel this way. I'm so passionate about it because every time I deliver a gallery and I have a client come back saying like, thank you so much. This is my favorite photo. Like, look how you captured us. Like, I love that. That's something I can give to people. You know, I'm not very good at interior design. I wouldn't be a very good teacher, but I'm good at this. And so I do appreciate the chance to get on here and talk about it because it does mean a lot to me to be able to try and give that to people. Images that they love that remind them of the time that they're really happy, you know, moments of happiness. So delivering moments
your
of
light.
happiness. I need that on a
Yes.
sweatshirt. I deliver moments of happiness.
You do. That's perfect. Christmas idea.
I know.
It's your light that is in you to shine, to share with the world. That's what you are
Thank
here
you.
for. You found your purpose, and I love that, and I appreciate that,
Thank
and I
you.
can feel it coming through. You're so passionate about it, and I love it. So where can everybody come and find you if they have any questions for you or anybody
Yeah.
locally can book with you?
It's you should be able to just Google search. It's just my name. So ValerieGordonPhotography.com. So and on
And we will
Instagram it's
put
the
that in
same.
the show
Valerie Gordon
notes.
Photography. Facebook, it's Valerie Gordon Photography. So pretty easy to remember because it's just my name. So and then my email is ValerieGordonPhotography@gmail.com. So it's all really easy.
That's how I feel when
yeah.
anybody asks me that. I'm like, Revitalized Womanhood. Anywhere.
And anywhere. That's perfect.
Any way
Anywhere.
you want to
So,
find me, there you go. Okay. Well,
yes.
thank you, my dear.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate this. And this was really fun. I know it's going to be helpful I'm sorry that it was a little late in the season because here we don't really feel that way because it stays so nice and warm.
It does. You can shoot into this December and it's still
yes.
pretty nice weather. Yeah.
It is. And my friend that actually got me thinking about this, they're in Florida. So I'm like sending her ideas and she's like, my kids will sweat to death. And I'm like, oh, right. No scarves. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. No scarves. That's
I don't. Okay. Yep. Let me think about that. I did
do
do
a
family
fun
pictures in Hawaii
Do a beach
once.
session in Florida. There's some beautiful spots for those.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, lady. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.